Hello, everybody. I hope you're keeping well. If you're in the United Kingdom, I hope that you are coping with the real change in our constitution, and my thoughts are with you all. Um, and if you are dialing in or listening from other parts of the world, my reference is to the fact that our late monarch, Elizabeth II or Elizabeth the Great, died last week. And as a nation, we are in mourning. But I still wanted to reach out because I'd already scheduled the most incredible guest today, and he's called Joel Green. And I'm going to read, I've got a long introduction here, but I don't want to miss any of the incredible things that Joel has done. He's the CEO of Pro Level Training, the National Director of Nike Sports Camps, a former professional basketball player, and renowned motivational speaker. After retiring from his career in professional basketball, Joel founded Pro Level Training, which became a seven figure company. In addition to running that, he's also the national director of Nike Sports Camps, as well as an accomplished speaker. He was honored to speak to thousands and deliver his own TED Talk, and you must share your link and I'll put it in the podcast because I want people to hear this.
Absolutely.
Joel's unique differentiator in business and as an individual is his ability to see life objectively from multiple vantage points. Unfortunate circumstances as a youth helped to groom and refine Joel into adulthood. Growing up in an abandoned home and seeing both sides of life has really helped him to connect with people over time. And I salute you, Joel. A thought leader in the motivational category, Joel has a BA in psychology from Rider University, which has helped to fuel his ambition to inspire others. He's developed a reputation for personal excellence and motivational talks that contribute tangible advice for attaining desired goals. Many of his messages he has delivered and are conveyed in his first book, Filtering the Way to Extract Strength from the Struggle, due to release this autumn. And those that are listening, I'm reading it at the moment. Unbelievable read,
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic. In addition, Green is a professional sports and fitness model and actor, and he has been featured in commercials, ads, and on television. Most recently, he was the face of Cheez It Crackers Celebrity Crunch Classic campaign, in which he was solely featured on millions of snack boxes. You've got to look out for this.
Right.
Green is known for setting very ambitious goals for himself. Most recently, his own challenge of reading 30 books in 30 weeks. He has unflinchingly put in 18 to 20-hour workdays with great joy to make his dreams a physical manifestation. He attributes his work ethic to his unwavering faith and his passionate desire for excellence, both of which have allowed him to overcome many difficulties and life challenges. So, welcome.
Susan, thanks so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate that.
No, the honor is all mine. I feel I feel and I hope that people that are watching will discover how lucky we are to have you on the live stream and also the podcast.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, earlier you mentioned in your book that early in your life you had a tragic event that happened to you, and also there were some very distressing to read situations that were racially motivated as a child. How has filter it as a mantra helped you?
In a major way. I mean, that's something that I felt compelled to have to do. I didn't give myself many options, fortunately. I had a one-track mind in regards to improvement and didn't give myself many ways out of just progress. So, after going through what you just, mentioned, at the age of 6, being 10 feet away from a shooting and have to run from that, thinking I was going to be shot in the back, and shot just like the kid that, I witnessed being shot. I was the only person there outside of the kid that got shot and the 2 shooters. So going through that at 6 years old and just witnessing that traumatic situation, going through that trauma myself, it showed me how real life was. And then the very next year, experiencing racism for the first time and having someone sick 2 pit bulls on me and my brother just because we're black, and and laughed at us as we ran and had to scale a gate, and just going through things like that again, it opened my eyes to life. And I wasn't one that enjoyed taking my anger out on others. Although through, unfortunate incidents, I may have gotten into a fight here and there at 6 and 7 years old because I was a product of my environment. And it was unfortunate. But the older I became, I realized I have a choice. I have power over my actions and reactions. And I finally realized that I'm not a product of my environment. My environment is a product of me. I create, I deteriorate. I have a choice in this matter. And as I began to go about things with that mentality, things changed. And I began to really filter, my circumstances to where if I was angry, I decided to use that energy within my anger towards something productive. If I was sad, I didn't desire to be sad, but I decided to say, you know what, instead of being sad and crying all day, crying myself to sleep, use that energy that's within sadness and apply it somewhere. As hard as it may be, what I found out to be the case is it may not be as hard as you think it is. It just may be hard to start. But once you start to apply it somewhere, you get a quick rhythm, So for me, it's to say, okay, if I can pull this energy from this anger or this sadness and apply it somewhere productive, all I got to do is start to do it. And all of a sudden I have this rhythm and I'm just achieving something great. And I just began doing that time after time. And even when other hardship came up, I tragically lost one of my older brothers, when I was a teenager. And I had to filter that moment, say, what can I do with this? I shut down for a moment. It was just,
Yes,
it was so
you're
close to
human.
home. Yeah, and I had to realize that too. I was, I felt like I was built for, trouble. I was built for problematic situations. I could handle it. Then that happened. And it's like, wow, okay. I really don't even want to live right now, to be
Yes.
honest with you. And I went through that. And it wasn't until, with the help of my family, God's help, everybody, just like, I have to get something from this. I'm gonna go through it. I have to go through it no matter what. I might as well get something good from it. Let me see what I can draw from it. And I just had to extract some fuel, some strength from that situation. And I put it on the court. I put it in the classroom. I had my best academic year. I had my best showing on the basketball court. I got multiple Division I college scholarship offers, academics offers, months after my brother died.
That's incredible.
And it was because I just decided to stop being angry
Yes.
about that and apply that anger somewhere, that energy from the anger and energy from the sadness. And it's still taking me far, to be honest.
That's remarkable. And so brave in a way, because it's a natural reaction as a human being to be angry, particularly the 6-year-old version of you. You were a young child, and to have to go through that is, it's heartbreaking. And you should not be ashamed at all at being angry and perhaps fighting other kids when you were 6 and 7, because that's perfectly normal, isn't it? And the fact you've turned that round is truly remarkable and inspirational.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It was difficult. It was tough to break a mold that I
Yes,
was in.
of course.
It's tough to break habits of just anger and defeat. I felt defeated a lot.
Yeah.
And just growing up in the environment that I did, the ghetto that I grew up in, just seeing people all the time. This was in the middle of the crack era of the late 80s and early 90s. It's just so much drugs, and it was a tough mold to break, but thank God, it happened. Um, my parents helped me a whole lot just to instill in me like, hey, look, we know where we are. This sucks where we are, but know that you can get beyond this and you will get beyond this. And I believed it. So I followed suit.
That's brilliant. And you must be such a role model for other people.
I hope so. I try to be, as much as I can because I am intentional about my movements. I'm intentional. I know people watch me. I know people see my movements. I'm around youth a lot. Being the national director for Nike and Nike Sports Camps, like I know eyes are on me. So I try my best to be a positive role model. When I speak, I do my best to make sure, I'm speaking positivity as opposed to any detrimental words and things that tears other people down.
Yes.
There's no time for that. So, I hope that in the eyes of others, I am a good role model.
I'm certain you are. I thought it was really interesting that you talk about Mike Tyson. You quote him, a quote that I have never heard before. And it was so funny.
Oh, man.
Everyone has a plan until they're punched in the mouth.
Absolutely. Everyone has a plan until they're punched in the mouth. And it's so true because we may be so happy-go-lucky about life, and which is great. And all of a sudden, life just smacks you in the face out of the blue. And it's like, oh, what do I do? And you have no protocol in place. That's a bad place to be. To not have a defense mechanism, to not have something to revert to, if life punches you in the mouth, you know what I mean? And for me, that's why I came up with filtering, because it's a protocol in place. It's a tool that you can use to really break life down, to break these sudden moments down in the moment. You don't have to go all the way through it, then wait on hindsight to reveal the answers to you months or years later. You can go through it and filter it and actually develop foresight so that you can resolve this and not have to continue to go through it. And you can work on literally resolving the issue so that it doesn't continue to revolve and keep going around you back, time and time and again. So it's so true. So many of us has this amazing, grandiose plan, and we're so happy with this plan until all of a sudden, smack it, and all of a sudden, like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
You do know how to. You just have to have some things in place that can help guide you.
And do you think that the pandemic, because I know that you've got a whole chapter on the pandemic, do you think that that is a very good example of suddenly being punched in the mouth?
Absolutely. That we were all punched in the mouth with the pandemic. That it caught us all off guard. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know how to move, who to move around. We didn't know what to do, what we should eat, what we should touch, what we shouldn't touch. It was scary.
Yeah.
Again, it was like being in a horror movie of sorts. It's like, okay, wait a second. I shouldn't go there. I should only be in a room with maybe 10 people and no more than that. Or I need to be 6 feet away from someone. And, I can't get on an elevator anymore. It was so many things that hit us in the mouth, suddenly. And we're just like, what do I do now? And that's exactly where I had to filter that moment. Again, filtering the pandemic is the final chapter of the book. And I had to filter what we were going through. And I saw so much opportunity within the pandemic. It was amazing. Obviously, it was so difficult just to witness and see people passing away and getting sick. And it's like, my goodness. And just tough to see that taking place, but, outside of those things, I saw a ton of opportunity for growth, a ton of opportunity just to help other people.
Yes.
And it was just like, I got it, and just by way of breaking the pandemic down while it was happening, it showed me so much. And, I'm glad I was able to see some things and not just see the problem of the pandemic, but I saw the progress that can come from it.
And certainly in different parts of the world, certainly in the United Kingdom, there is forecast a recession. And this is another example of possibly being punched in the face.
Yep.
And how can we filter that round?
I mean, preparation. I've told people plenty of times to where preparation brings peace, right? But so often we complain about the problem so much to where we negate and forget to prepare, for things that are looming. If something is looming, you probably should be preparing for something, like
Yes.
if we saw the pandemic looming, right? Many of us would probably start storing canned products and toilet paper, because that was no toilet paper anywhere. It was, we would have stockpiled all these things, but we didn't see it coming. So once it happened, we were just like, oh my goodness, I don't even have the basic essentials that I need. But if we see things like a recession coming, I would tell, look, prepare. You may want to have some of your funds and finances in a place that's super secure for yourself, and
Yes.
maybe save and don't spend too much of that at the moment. You may need it, just different things. You may want to go ahead and apply for a loan right now that
Yes.
you can just leave on the side. Don't touch it. Just have it just in case.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things that we can do if we only get out of the problem for a moment. If we step outside of it, and I think you've seen this in the beginning of the book, to where I say, when things go wrong, don't go with them. And that's what we tend to do so often.
Take a step back and look.
Just look at it. It's from the outside if possible. Like, if you're able to just see it outside of your own default perspective, man, what you would see would be amazing. It would be amazing.
Now, you talk about the filtering. Could you give a brief summary of what this means and how people could use it?
Well, again, filtering, as I mentioned, it's a tool, that I developed for myself, just because I was going through quite a bit, about 7 or 8 years ago, just going through divorce, going through a lot of life, transitioning out of professional sports. It was a very humbling time for me. And I just was searching for a ton of answers, just began reading a lot, just asking around a lot, and things just didn't seem to be going in my favor, to be honest. And I had to get out of this place of complaining and just pitying myself. It literally didn't feel good. I didn't feel like myself. And I said, okay, I've been through enough by this time. I'm like, all right, Joel, you've handled things before. You've been through death. You've been through other things in life. You can handle this. And so I just began breaking my situations down like I never have before, and got into, an emotional brainstorming phase. And that's what filtering is. You break things down, you just begin brainstorming on them, to where you literally begin seeing your circumstances from about 3 or 4 different vantage points. You become your own therapist, you become your own friend. You know how many times we don't see what we're going through, but our friends see it. Or even many times your friend may be going through something, and you give them the perfect advice on it, but when you go through that same thing, you don't even give yourself that advice. And with filtering, that's what I began doing, even for myself. I've been again seeing things, objectively, outside of myself. And I saw bad moves that I made. I saw good moves that I made. And just filtering does that for you. It helps you to see what you're going through, break it down, and extract exactly what you need from that. And you see there's a chapter in the book called The Purpose of Our Pain.
Yes.
And that may have been one of my favorite chapters to write in the book, because pain is something that we deny so much, and we try to ignore it because we don't want it. It's painful. It hurts. We just want it to be gone. But pain is something that we ought to lean into and realize why it came, as opposed to saying, I just wanted to be going so bad, just get out of here, pain. It's like, no, please find out why that pain came, as opposed to sweeping it under the rug. The more you sweep under the rug, you'll end up tripping over that rug. When you walk past, it'll be a painful experience to find out in the end the answer of why it came, when you could have found that out before. In the end, might be too late. So for me, I lean into my painful circumstances, and I try to use them against themselves. I try to have them cancel themselves out. Right? That's what it's about for me.
That's interesting. Now, I know that you say that you should own your failure.
Mhm.
So often we get frightened about getting outside our comfort zone. And one of my mantras is certainly, what's the worst thing that can happen, or it won't kill you.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
I know
I get it. I completely get it. I mean, I honestly, I think I carry the same mentality, to where I'm willing to go all out because I know I'll still be here afterward. I'm willing to go all out in this regard. Now, if I'm climbing a mountain and I have no bungee cord, I'm not willing to do that
no,
because I
no.
may not be here after that, right? So that's something that actually can kill you. But I carry the same thing as far as not being afraid to fail, not being, afraid to have mishaps, because it keeps me from that comfort zone. It keeps me from plateauing. It keeps me from being complacent because
Yes.
the more that happens, that's the moment I begin to decline,
Yes.
and the crazy part that I've realized about the comfort zones is that we decline incrementally and we don't, it's so small of a decline that we don't notice it until something big happens to where it shows us the great decline that occurred over time. And that's what's scary about being in the comfort zone. You don't know it until all of a sudden something shows it to you. Like, wow, I've been here for a while. And for me, I'm all about growth and progress. I love growth, Susan. So I love growth so much to where I'm always seeking, like, okay, how can I improve this? How can I improve that? How can I improve myself? I look in the mirror, like, okay, what can I do to help myself mentally just be better than I was last month or last year, last quarter in business? And it's just, I'm not concerned with fear. I'm not concerned with messing up because this is a part of the process.
That's so interesting. As you speak, something comes to mind, and it's the first chapter of a book by Raymond Blanc,
Mhm.
who is a Michelin-starred French chef.
Okay.
And he talks about the process of doing a tomato jus.
Okay.
And he asks everybody what they think. Oh, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And he said, well, how can I make? No, it's beautiful. No, how can I make it better?
Yep.
And then he said that that's where the magic starts, because people have they're given permission to say, well, actually, I'd like a bit more salt,
Hmm.
or I would like it a little bit less runny.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, if we only take the time to critique ourselves for progress, the improvement that would take place would be amazing because so many times our self-critique is negative. It,
Yes.
is not meant for progress. We may just be critiquing ourselves out of the state of pity, as opposed to the state of progress. So for me, I love that example that you just gave because he was trying to have his product critiqued so that it can be improved. And that's really what it's all about. Like if we're going to work towards something, there's nothing wrong with critiquing it and finding out the flaws within it. That's a part of refinement and refining things to make sure it's its best product. And I want to have my best life, to be honest. So I critique myself and things that I've done. I critique myself as a father. I love fatherhood, like to a T. It's literally my priority of life. I critique myself to make sure I'm my best person as a father. That so that my son is getting the best product from me. So I love that example that you gave.
Oh, good. Now, you talk about designing your own destiny.
Mhm.
And I love the idea of that, because we can all set up big, hairy goals,
Mhm.
but it's how we get there, isn't it?
It's how we get there. I mean, it's we again going back to choice. We have a choice in where we're going. We may not have had a choice in where we've come from. That's the thing.
Right.
We don't always have a choice of where we start. We're born into a certain place. You're born into a certain family. You're born in a certain environment. That wasn't your choice, but you always have a choice beyond that moment. And I really want for people to know that they have a choice and how to make that choice, and different things they can do to make their choice a good choice, a great choice. And again, that's why I wrote this book. I just really wanted to help people out. I'm only 37, right? But I've been through so much life. I've seen the patterns of life. I've seen how cyclic life is. It's a pattern. We may go through something at home that's meant to teach us a principle. We'll go through the same thing in business that's meant to at work. It's
Yeah.
meant to teach us the same principle. But just imagine if you already learned from it at home, you'll be ahead of it at work, and it won't hit you as hard at work. And I just seen the different patterns of life and just relationship and love. So I just have to, I began speaking on it from the stage, talking to different organizations and schools and universities. And once I saw that they really appreciated it and it was helping them, I said, I have to write about it just to really help even more people.
That's brilliant. Now, you talked about your tips on flipping a negative thought to a positive and getting the energy. Could you share some tips with us about this? Maybe 3 top tips.
For sure. I mean, well, one is, again, just referring back to something I even mentioned earlier, just, using things to cancel themselves out, different negativity. An example is just dark moments. I was asked recently, like, what separates high achievers from, low achievers. I just said, like, high achievers aren't afraid of the dark, right? And what I mean by that is someone that's a high achiever, they've been through some stuff, right?
Yes.
They've been through some darkness, but they've learned how to use that darkness as motivation to get to a brighter place in their lives. They use that troublesome area of themselves to actually push them forward away from the darkness that much more, but they use the darkness to do it. The darkness cancels itself out in the process. It no longer affects them unless they wanted to draw from it. So I've done the same things. I've drawn from my darkness. I leaned into I'm not afraid of the dark, right? And that's one thing I've told people as a tip, to where don't be afraid of the dark. Lean into the darkness and actually use that dark moment as motivation to get away from it even more. And it can't even bother you anymore. I lean into different things I had in the past and draw anger and sadness from it to this day to drive me forward even more. So that's one tip right there. Again, another one is and it's an obvious one, but it's one that we always don't lean into. But I'm big on getting help now. I'm just huge on, on getting over things together, right? So whether that's a relationship or just you going through something individually, reaching out to someone. Again, we know this already, but how often do we do it at the onset? So for me, I had to practice doing it at the onset as opposed to waiting until I'm wallowing in this thing for months or for weeks. And all of a sudden I'm having a breakdown now, when I could have reached out to somebody when I first felt this. And that's, again, I'm going back to the tool of filtering, because now when I use it, it makes me more aware of what I'm going through. And I can now say from the start, I'm gonna need some help with this. I'm going to need some help. I can see in advance, I'm going to need some help with this situation. Again, developing that foresight as opposed to waiting on hindsight, reaching out to somebody saying, hey, look, this is what I'm going through. I never forget how insecure I was at one point, about 8 years ago when I began developing this tool for myself. Very insecure, going through anxiety for the first time in my life. Again, after being a pro athlete, I never felt anxiety. I was bred for anxiety on the court in high pressure situations. So once I got on this other side of life, I'm like, what is this thing I'm feeling in my throat? What is this? Why is my heart racing and I'm not doing anything? And I went to the doctors for it, and they told me, this is anxiety, Joe. You're transitioning out of a livelihood into another one. And I just had to begin learning, saying, okay, I'm insecure about this, but I'm not the only one going through this. The moment I reached out to other people, they said, hey, I felt the same thing. I went through that too. And it was so comforting for me.
Yes.
And it was, and it wasn't from a side of misery loves company, but it just felt good to see, okay, I'm just human. That just helped me out so much. So reaching out to other people to be willing to expose yourself for help, though, for progress is a major tip and tool that I use to this day, whether I'm reaching out to a sibling, a close friend, a parent, whoever.
That's just brilliant. That's
Mhm.
and we're stronger together, aren't we? Collaborating and supporting each other.
Absolutely. Big time.
So before we go, could you tell the listeners a little bit about the book? I will make sure that there is a link in the podcast to so that people can purchase it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, the book, it's called Filtering: The Way to Extract Strength from the Struggle. It's online, everywhere, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. But it's a book to really help us, get beyond what we're going through. And it's not only getting beyond, but pulling something from what you're going through that can actually help propel you beyond what you're going through. And that's what, with that whole extraction process, that's what it's about. You don't want to just go through things and get nothing from it, right? That's a lot of time spent, sometimes time wasted. I'm big on maximizing my time and my life. So if I'm going to go through something, I want to grow through that thing as opposed to just go through it. So the filtering process is going to help you guys to be able to really extract exactly the reasons why that situation may have come. And it will help just enlighten you. It will help make you more aware. It will help you understand your pain. It will help you understand areas of growth. And you'll begin to see that you don't just even filter the negative situations. You'll begin filtering even the positive, saying, okay, let me actually draw from this situation exactly why this happened, why I achieved this, why I feel so great. And it'll help you to say, okay, I got this from it. I can actually replicate that feeling now. Because you
Wow.
extracted things from the happy situation, from those great moments.
Yes.
You'll learn how to just be more fulfilled day after day. And it's just, it's a tool that, again, I promise you, I practice it every day because, there's always something that tries to hold you back. And
Yes.
it's just, I want answers. I want to find out what's going on here. And I question it, but I question it with void of emotion. I don't say, why am I going through this? I say, well, why am I actually going through this? And those things help me out. So hopefully, it really helped you guys out. I've been hearing from a lot of people that has been helping them out over the past week since the book has been released.
Brilliant.
And I'm loving it.
Excellent. And how can people contact you? Can they contact you via LinkedIn? Do you have a website?
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn for sure. Joel Green. You can find me on Instagram. I'm on there all of the time nowadays. J Green PLT. That's JAY Green PLT. I'm on Facebook as well. You can look up Joel Green or Joel Green Official, and my website, joelbgreen.com. So I'm very big on engagement. If any of you reach out to me, if it's just for any bit of advice, even a connection to make for you guys, I'm big on that. If someone says, hey, I see you're involved in this, I will connect you guys and just step out of the process, because that's where my heart is on different things. But I would love to connect with you all and just make an impact in any way I can.
Oh, you're just so amazing, Joel. It has been fantastic speaking to you and seeing and hearing how you have this wisdom, which almost is way beyond your years, and you are sharing it and making such an impact with so many people. And I salute you.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate those words. I mean it.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you very much for listening.